Hello to all of you around the world. I want to welcome you again to another edition of Soulivity Today, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I'm so glad you're here. We have a fantastic show for you today. But before we get to that, I want to introduce to you my two amazing co-hosts, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. Good morning to both of you.
Hello,
Good morning.
Brian. Hi, Chanel.
Man, what a week we've had here in the States. I want to send love and support out to our residents out in Maui who are still recovering from the fires there, as well as people in Washington State. I mean, a lot of wildfires are happening, a lot of freak weather has been going on here too. My family in LA, we're dealing with the hurricane slash tropical storm. And so it's been kind of a wild and crazy week. What about you guys? What have you guys been up to?
Yeah, it's been wild here too, Brian, here in Michigan. So as I was sharing this morning, our power is out throughout, the streets, the stop signals are out. But fortunately, because I came into my office early, it wasn't a problem. But I would imagine soon it'll be really bad. And then celebrated my son's open house this Sunday, which turned out to be a
Yay.
really joyous, blessed event, and dropped him off at his dorm last night. So we are
Woohoo!
free and clear, one more to go, so to speak. So it's all good.
Well, Sheila, you and I had a great show together yesterday with Helena on joy in our bodies. But did you do anything after that? Anything exciting?
Well, we did the Joy Keepers
Oh, that's
meditation
right.
that day, and we carried the conversation over into the Joy Keepers Cafe, which was fun. We hadn't ever done that before, so it was neat to like flow that through the day. That always puts me in a great mood when
That
we're
was
in that
amazing.
space.
Oh man, it was
Yeah.
so much fun. Sharing and especially everybody's experience after the meditation was like amazing to me. Um,
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's good for both of you. That's fantastic. Um, as I said before, this week's been uh, a really crazy week. And there was a story from the Washington Post that kind of caught my eye. It was a story about the latest ban of AP or advanced placement courses on African American history in the state of Arkansas. A little bit more information about this is that Arkansas basically has a ban against this AP course. And when asked about the ban, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, "We've got to get back to the basics of teaching about math, of teaching reading, writing, and American history. And we cannot perpetuate a lie to our students and push this propaganda, leftist agenda teaching our kids to hate America and hate one another." Now, what made this story so interesting wasn't just about the ban itself, it was about the response to this ban, and what a response it was, ladies. Five of the historic Little Rock Nine, along with members of the NAACP, wrote a joint post to highlight their disappointment, anger, and genuine concerns. And now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the story of Little Rock Nine, here's a little bit more information. In September of 1957, 9 Black Arkansas teenagers entered the all-white Little Rock Central High School on a day that became iconic in the civil rights movement. The teens were part of a school integration efforts that followed the 1954 Supreme Court Brown versus Board Education ruling, which declared racial segregation in public schools to be unconstitutional. But in Little Rock, Governor Orville Faubus ordered the Arkansas National Guard to block the African American teens from entering the school. It took then President Dwight D. Eisenhower federalizing the National Guard and sending in the U.S. Army troops to ensure that teenagers could attend classes regularly at Central High. Now, here's a little bit more on the entire story from one of my favorites. I know it's probably favorites for you guys too, Rachel Maddow.
As for the school part of being a kid in Arkansas, high schoolers in that state are now starting to feel the effect of a bill that Governor Huckabee Sanders signed this year, which, among other things, bars Arkansas teachers from teaching about race and racism. This law went into effect August 1st. Just days later, the Arkansas Department of Education announced that the AP African American Studies course will no longer count toward graduation credits in Arkansas this year because it might amount to indoctrination. Now, I should tell you that of the 6 Arkansas high schools that had planned to offer AP African American Studies, all 6 of the schools have decided to offer the course anyway, even though the state says it won't count. One of those schools that is defying the governor, defying the state on this, is Little Rock Central High, which is going ahead with AP African American Studies, and never mind the objections from Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' office. Little Rock Central High is, of course, the exact same school where 9 brave Black students attended class for the first time in 1957. This is a time when the country was supposed to have desegregated our schools, but boy, they had not in Little Rock. And those kids had to be escorted to class, shielded from an angry, violent mob by members of the Army and the National Guard. Those 9 kids, the Little Rock 9, hold a signal place in African American history, in American history, but particularly in African American history, which will be taught this year at the advanced placement level at their high school. We often say history rhymes, we say history repeats, but sometimes history is just a linear, direct rerun.
Woo!
Mm.
You know, when I was thinking about this story today, ladies, I was thinking about the fact that I can always tell when I'm in the flow of higher consciousness by how I feel. I feel loose. I feel, you know, like a blade of grass blowing in the wind. It's very smooth. It's very easy. And when there's tension, I know that I'm not in the flow. When I heard this story and I heard about people's reactions to this, I could tell that this whole band, this whole thing is not in the flow of where we should be in terms of our awareness about our lives, our history, and everything else. So I literally, it was like, we got to talk about this. So when you guys heard this story, what were your immediate kind of like feelings about it?
Well, for me, Brian, it's hard for me to accept, honestly, because when she says, the governor says of Arkansas, she says, we need to get back to the basics of teaching math, of teaching reading, writing, and American history. Is not this Little Rock 9 a part of American history?
In history,
Um,
right,
even though the backdrop had to do with desegregation, it's still history. It's a
right,
significant
Mhm.
marker. So why are we trying to erase it or eradicate it? It's hard for me to understand. And it's going through. Now, the schools are going ahead and still allowing the AP course on African American history to proceed. And
right,
several school districts in Arkansas are doing the same against the state law. But the fact that it's in written state law is so troubling. And
right.
we're in 2023. I I I
Mhm.
I don't get this. And let me just also say, Brian, I learned more about this during the research on this class than I ever did in my own high school. So I
Wow.
never went to Arkansas 9 in high school. We didn't nobody taught us that. We were still on MLK, Rosa Parks.
Which is
Mhm.
the whole
Now, I know
point,
that was a
right?
long time ago, but I'm telling
No,
you,
but it's
yeah.
but it's the whole point. But this is the whole point of like people coming out and talking about this. Sheila, what about you? What were your feelings when you first heard about this story?
You know, it's kind of what you were describing, Brian, because I can perceive it from that space of higher consciousness. And then I can be very earthy and in the time and moment and be like, yeah, you know, get angry. And I think both are, to me, higher consciousness is all the levels of consciousness. So it's all
Yeah.
included. One of the things that, as we were listening to Sarah Huckleby's words, is it's a mind bend because she is saying everything that
Right.
I think we would believe. The actual words she says is that that we need to get back to teaching American history. And that's what we're doing with this, right? This is American history. She says we need to stop the propaganda. We do need to stop the propaganda because that's what we were taught when we were younger.
Right.
Like that's how our country was built, on propaganda. And I forgot what else she said, but everything was like, how could you argue with that? It's this twistedness of then saying that teaching truth is propaganda and that it's going to divide us, when really knowing truth can bring us together and heal us. So, it's so frustrating to see this underbelly of consciousness rising up and fighting. But at the same time, I know that kids are going to learn this. Like it's out
Right.
here now. It's in the news. It's actually teaching it's presenting the truth to all of us more by having the controversy. And so with that, we can move past the propaganda. And I love that the schools are going to teach it anyway. I think it's,
Yeah.
blatantly obvious that the one course that is not fitting in here is the AP course that is on Black history. And most likely it's a continuation of trying to keep a certain population out of higher education and reaching, equality. So it's just so blatant right now. I guess that's all I have to
Absolutely.
say. Like, how can we not see this? And maybe that helps us change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there's going to be more on this that we're going to be talking about. Listen, everybody, we're going to take a quick break because I really want to give you guys a little bit of what the members of the Little Rock, Arkansas, Little Rock 9 had to say about this band in the next couple of segments. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll have more with Soulivity Today coming up. So just stay tuned. Soulivity Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours. You can find all of the Satana products at our Go shop at go.soulivity.com.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame, living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hello there. We're back with more here on Soulivity Today. We're talking about the latest in the Arkansas State ban against AP Advanced Studies courses on African American history. Now, what I'd like to do, and just give me some moments here, everybody. I want to read to you an excerpt of the response crafted by 5 of the historic Little Rock 9, along with the members of the NAACP. We are outraged and saddened by the recent decision of the Arkansas Department of Education to remove the Advanced Placement African American Studies class from the state's approved course list. This is a blatant and shameful attempt to erase Black history and silence Black voices in a state that has a rich and complex legacy of racial struggle and triumph. Arkansas history is Black history. The role of the NAACP and the Little Rock 9 in dismantling segregation nationwide is well documented and celebrated. Additionally, the uniqueness of this history lies in the presence. We live these moments and verify this and other African American history, which is American history. 5 of us were among the 9 brave students who faced violence, hatred, intimidation, and integrate Central High School in 1957. We endured unimaginable hardships and sacrifices to fight for our right to quality education and equal opportunity. We are proud of our contribution to the civil rights movement and the advancement of democracy in this country. We consider the accurate retelling of our history on American right for those of us who endured a necessity for student learning and mandatory for educational progress in this country. Yet in a number of states, we are seeing curriculum violence being perpetuated today by forces who don't want students to learn the truth about American history. Our story is not the only one. There are countless other stories of Black Arkansans who have shaped the history and culture of this state and this nation. From Daisy Bates to Maya Angelou, from Al Green to Rodney E. Slater, Black Arkansans have made significant impacts in various fields and domains. Their story deserves to be told, honored, and respected, not erased and ignored. Arkansas's actions represent larger statewide and nationwide attempts to whitewash history and deny the realities of systematic racism and oppression. The state legislature has passed legislation that prohibits teachers from addressing topics such as slavery, segregation, discrimination, and social justice in their classrooms. These laws are designed to silence critical inquiry and stifle academic freedom. Wow. Wow, ladies. Woo. I'm just going to go. So I'll go to you first, Sheila. What are your thoughts after hearing that?
As you were reading this, and I was just listening, I imagined a time in the not so distant future where this letter, the statement, is in the history books that kids learn in school alongside what Huckabee said. So, I guess there was this essence of hope. They're alive, they're here, they're saying this is truth. And so that penetrates through this facade that is being, presented right now. So
Right.
I guess there was hope for me. Like, okay, look at this in 10 years. This is going to be in our history books, and people are going to learn that it's present as well as in the past.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shano, what about you? You know, especially as like an educator. I mean, because you're educating people who are older in terms of their life and their professional lives and that kind of thing. And a lot of
Right,
times it's got to
right.
begin with truth, right? So when you hear these
Absolutely.
words by these historic figures, what's going through your mind and heart?
Well, to be honest, it feels heavy. So, um, because what it feels like is a level of control. They call it curriculum violence. It's at
Yeah.
a
Mm.
whole new. We're not being lynched like some of us are not being lynched right now. Some of us are not, in the fields right now. But for me, and I'm sorry if I'm taking it here, but for me, it's like
No.
this is just a higher
Yeah.
level guys under state law of subjugation. That's what it feels
Mhm.
like to me. And they're like, at least right now, they're getting away with it. Um, and to erase our history, Black history, um, we weren't even asked to have a part of this, but we have a part of American history now. Um, it makes me think, okay, and you guys can help me, Brian. What's really going on? So there's the obvious. They're trying to eradicate Black history. They want to whitewash history. They want to remove any stains, any Black stains. They use it under the guise of we don't want to have a divide and we don't want our kids to hate each other and
Right.
hate America. How
Right.
can learning about history make you hate America? It just opens your eyes, like you said, to the truth. So there's the
Mhm.
obvious that is happening, but you guys, Brian and Sheila, what's the not so obvious? Like what's really going on is what I ask my clients. Like what's the core of what's happening?
You know, I think as with many political strategies, this is um um uh oh gosh, I'm losing my words now because I'm thinking about this speech. It's deflection. It's
Mhm.
really
Deflection.
deflection.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's look over here at this shiny object while we're doing this over here, right? Um um this really doesn't have anything to do really with Black history, right? In part, yeah, yes, we people need to learn Black history. They need to know which is really American history. I mean, let's just say that, right? America was built
Mhm.
on the backs of slaves in different forms. A lot of them look like me, right? Um, um, but there's also Asian Americans that were also slaves out west that helped build the railroads and other things, right? As well as our Latino brothers and sisters, our Mexican Americans who help build things in the South. That being said, I think this has to do with suppressing people's right to vote, their right to be part of our democracy, where uh, if you keep people, number one, if you keep people dumb, right? If you don't
Mm,
have them really learn the history and the truth, they can't make
mm,
wise decisions about how they feel about certain issues, politics,
mm,
the government, who they're voting for. So that's one. Two, by keeping people down and keeping people worried about this African American history course, you're riling up those forces in our world that really are, you know, the worst parts of humanity. A lot of times, I'll say that, where you don't see people who look like me as your equal, and
mhm,
so any attempt to keep you down is a win for you. When in reality, there's more things that we have in common
Mhm.
than you think. and that by supporting me and having equitable circumstances here in America, you're literally helping yourself at the same time. And we talked about this stuff here on our show,
Yeah.
right? Everything from
Yeah.
taxes to healthcare to whatever, right? And so I think this is all just to, oh yeah, we're going to rile people up. It's like back in the days of the racial nods between certain political parties, calling people welfare queens and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. It's the same old stuff. It's the same old
Mhm.
stuff, and that's just my opinion, and that's a piece of it. I'm gathering some other thoughts about it, but I'll go to you, Sheila. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what both of you said, and I do see it as a distraction. It's constantly keeping us on our toes and passionate about things so that we miss the other things going through, right? But the other thing that I'm thinking about here is that so after World War II, Germany taught the truth about their history to the children of Germany, and they owned that part of their life, and and they have the memorial for that. And I know it's not perfect. This is an outsider's view of what happened, but for the most part, from what I've read and learned, is that by presenting the truth, Germany has moved forward and actually consciously are ahead of us as far as awareness and unity. Now,
Right.
here we have built the United States on propaganda, on a mythical story about unity while suppressing and slavery and genocide, and so it can't we can't grow when we don't know the truth. And
Right.
so there's a segment of the population that buys into that story is important to keep because it keeps us unified. But in truth, those are the people who are benefiting from the suppression and not wanting the status quo to change.
Right.
So there's this whole element that now you can't hide our history anymore because we can talk to each other. We have the internet, we have access to all this knowledge. So things are coming to the surface, and it's terrifying the people who have been suppressing the truth.
Right.
And so they
Right.
keep trying to get us fighting amongst each other.
One more thing on this too, and thank you for that, Sheila, and thank you for Chanel for asking the question, because this is the kind of conversation that I wanted to have today with both of you. Kind of where we're taking this to a higher kind of level and talking about it, not just on the ridiculousness of the ban itself, right? Where you're having the governor say, let's teach American history, and yet people who are actually part of the history are telling you that we know what history is and this ain't it, right? In terms of the ban. I'm also thinking that this is the same thing that happened after the Civil War, right? Where after the Civil War, and I would love to have on people like Roland Martin and Jamon Jordan and some other people to come on and talk about this. But you had Reconstruction. Well, what happened during Reconstruction? You had many Black communities do very, 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 very well, right? And you had politicians that basically said, you're not doing as well because of these Black folks, right? But that was done in part to seize power away from the Black people who were gaining in political power as well. I mean, a lot of people don't know that during that period, we actually had Black representatives in Congress. They didn't come later. We had Black people in Congress that were representing those towns, right? And those communities and those states. Well, you had things like what happened in Tulsa and in Rosewood and in a whole bunch of other cities where those towns got burned to the ground. And because of that, you also had the backlash around political power. And within 60 years, since the Civil War, you had 0 Black people in Congress after you had at least a handful. And that lasted all the way up until almost this last generation. So this is a playbook that is old as time, where you divide people up by blaming somebody else and then rewriting the history, right? Because there's a whole lot of history about the Civil War that is not told and is not known, because again, during the 40s and 50s, when you had these monuments being erected around the country, celebrating the Confederacy, which was basically just insurrection, you had the rewriting of it. Movies like Gone with the Wind and other things coming out, like celebrating the Southern life, and that, we were just trying to have some states' rights and protect our lands. Nah, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. And so this is part of that. This is what I think that's part of that whole movement, and why we got to talk about it, right? We have to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, Brian, we have to raise the awareness of all of this. And maybe if we're going to be taking a break here, I want to also know about the tie with the other Republican governor in Florida, because remember, we had a show. He is more or less the same thing, right?
Yep.
In banning the
Exactly.
African American.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
And
or other Republican governors or other governors, I wonder what this trajectory, how this is going to unfold across state lines.
I'm glad that you talked about that, because we're going to be talking about that in the next segment, where school districts are pushing back, right? And I'd like to get your feedback on, like, where do you see this kind of going from your perspective? So, listen, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more on this Arkansas state ban and maybe some other states against this AP Studies course on African American history, and where does the future go? And so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Do you see me kneeling on this dual roller called Parasetter? It's actually comfortable because of this channel and the softness of the special foam. It feels like my kneecaps are being massaged. When I lie down, my spine is housed in this channel, while the convex rollers massage my muscles. They let go and lengthen. There's a traction effect from my head on the headrest and my mid-back from the rib wrap, which hugs me. When I start the breathing sequence, I feel calm because my cortisol levels are dropping. Lower cortisol means bye-bye constant hunger. Parasetter is 40 inches long and much more comfortable than old-style rollers, but it weighs only 10 ounces. Parasetter, just like Pilates was, is no longer an insider secret. Do yourself a favor. Reset your parasympathetic nervous system. Defeat stress. Lying, sitting, kneeling, or standing. This unique patented roller helps everyone.
More schools taking a stance against the state when it comes to teaching AP African American Studies.
This comes after the Department of Education says this could break the law by indoctrinating students with critical race theory. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Faith Woodard.
And I'm Craig O'Neill. Well, despite all this drama, things are moving forward in a number of districts.
THV 11's Ashley Godwin joins us now. Ashley, who all is continuing to teach this?
Faith, Craig, it's these schools listed here: Little Rock School District, Jacksonville, North Pulaski, North Little Rock School District, and Easton. Schools weren't alerted about the change until last Friday, but that didn't stop LRSD from being the first to say they will move forward as planned.
You know, Little Rock School District, we are a leading district and we're a civil rights district.
The Little Rock School District became the first to take a stand against the state's decision to remove AP African American Studies from receiving credit. The district will continue to offer the course and pay the students' fees.
We are honoring our students who signed up for the courses at the end of last school year.
Schools weren't alerted about the changes until last Friday, right before the start of school. But this week, 4 schools have said they will continue as planned. LRSD, North Little Rock School District, Jacksonville North Pulaski, and Eastham. Eastham also adding that students who pass the course and take the AP exam will be awarded the district's first Medal of Historical Pursuit and Valor. In a statement from the Arkansas Department of Education, until it's determined whether it violates state law and teaches or trains teachers in CRT and indoctrination, the state will not move forward. The department encourages the teaching of all American history and supports rigorous courses not based on opinions or indoctrination. But that leaves a big question for some, like LRSD board member Vicki Hatter. How exactly does this course break the law?
If no one can give that answer, then how is it appropriate to only single out one course of an AP exam?
And we asked the Department of Education this question and did not get a response. When we reached out to Attorney General Tim Griffin's office, we were told there would need to be a request made to his office for it to be investigated. So far, there has not been any requests for his opinion on the matter.
They asked the Arkansas Department of Education what that question, the answer to the question on how does those courses break their law, and they had no response.
Well,
Yeah.
also, they're saying, you know, it's based on opinions and indoctrination. And how can you dispute the facts and then, you know, minimize it down to an opinion and translate it into indoctrination? That's still, I don't get that. The one thing that
Right.
I am concerned about, Brian, is will the state withhold funding to these schools in some way for violating state law? That's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, the first I'll say shot across the bow was they're not stopping high schools from teaching the course. Students just won't get any credit for it.
Right. Right.
And so it's like, so that in of itself, it's like, okay, how do you get kids to take a course that they're not going to get credit for? Right.
And an AP course at that.
Right. And so they still, exactly, where it's advanced placement, colleges around the country are literally going to give you college credit for it. Right. Significant college credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
I am happy.
But colleges can still choose to do that. Can't colleges still choose to do that?
Yes, the colleges can still, I think the colleges can still choose to do that. I think, I think that it still has to be approved on their transcript or whatever, that they took this course. I think that's where the rub is going to be, right? Where the current, I don't think anybody ever thought about this, which is why I wanted to talk to you about, like, you know, the future and this kind of stuff and how schools are fighting back. I don't think anybody ever thought there would be such a huge fight over like real settled history. This isn't like history that we're still debating, right? So that whole junk about CRT, which isn't taught in high school, by the way, it's not taught in high school. There's no elements of it that's taught in high school. It originated as a law class for people that are entering into law school around understanding systematic discrimination and racism and that kind of thing, and how it works in current law, right, in past law. So how can you teach a high school student that and they don't even know the history, right? The other parts of history. But anyway, um, I don't think anybody ever thought, oh, well, the state's going to disagree with an advanced placement course and the curriculum around it. And so they're not going to give credit. And then there's going to be a disconnect between that and colleges using that course when it's not on their transcript as a course that they got credit for. I mean, I don't think anybody ever thought of that. And so
No.
what are colleges and universities going to do, right? Are they going to say,
See,
well,
I
you can
feel
come
like
over here? You know, I don't know. Go ahead, Sheila.
it's still going to be on their transcript. It's just not
Right.
going to have the initials AP in front of it. But the colleges, so I'm feeling like it could just actually send people out of state for colleges. Like, I feel like either that or the colleges just accept it anyway. And I really like that one school added the award that they get,
Right.
or medal, because that goes to the top of their applications, right? They got
Right.
this award for doing this. That not only means you took the class, which deserves college credit, and they can give him college credit for.
Right.
And it also says right at the top that this person is choosing education. So they're finding their way to kind of override the manipulation. And yet, I
Right.
mean, obviously it shouldn't even be happening, but
Right.
you know, like the government tries to threaten us with power, but how much power do they have if we don't give it to them?
Right. Right. Exactly. Chanel, I mean, you have your son who's entering into college. And I just wonder how you would be feeling if, you know, your son or daughter had taken this AP course and then the state of Michigan says, we're not going to honor that. That's not going to be honored on your transcript. And then like University of Michigan says, well, because Michigan is the school that your son went to is not going to honor this, we can't honor it as well.
Yeah, right? I think it would awaken in me a whole new level of, advocacy and, trips up to the state capitol. Um, they already, of course, my school knows me very, very well. Um,
Right. Right.
the presence is definitely known, but yeah, it would definitely be an outrage, and I know I would be more educated about this whole topic and probably would have taken, more action. But it would be interesting to maybe talk to our colleagues in higher ed in admissions
Mhm.
and get their perspective on this,
Right.
and what they are doing, right? Because,
Yeah.
people are going to come from all over to go to these universities with this issue. And
Right.
so they're going to have a response that's ready.
I
Mhm.
agree.
But yeah, but anyway, also, if we have time, Brian, I don't know if you did want to comment about the governors, the other Republican governors who are taking this stance as well.
Yeah, this is happening across the United States. Just really, really quickly, where it's happening in Florida, Georgia, Texas. That's just a few of 20 states that are passing laws to rewrite or erase history. Just to kind of end this segment before we go into a break. Then this is from this response from the Little Rock Nine. They said too few students in Arkansas of all races have access to accurate Black history, and too few Black students specifically have access to AP classes. According to the latest data from College Board, only 3% of AP exam takers in Arkansas were Black, compared to 15% nationally. Only 12% of AP exam takers in Arkansas took an AP exam related to history or social science, compared to 37% nationally. So again, it goes to what we were talking about before. Listen, we're going to take a really, really quick break. And when we come back, we'll have some more Soulivity today. We'll be right back.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Why don't we get to some Soulivity shameless plugs to make me feel better from this conversation?
Yeah, I need something to make me feel better.
A little pick me up, Let's go to you, Chanel, first. You are offering some really, really cool coaching sessions that are absolutely free. Can you tell people a little bit more about them?
Yeah, and let me just tie in a quick wrap up from what we've been talking about. Sheila, you talked about Germany and the healing. Until you heal, until you're willing to face the truth and dig deep, can there be true freedom and maybe eventually equality? And so with the coaching,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what we do. We dig really deep and we find out what the truth that might be suppressed, and we bring it to the forefront, and we become healed so that we can become free, which is the title of the book. Not only come back to yourself, but love life and live free. So give me a
Mm.
call so we can talk about it.
Hey. I like
That's
that. I like
awesome.
that. And along with this, Sheila, you're actually doing some similar work with your soul connection sessions.
Mhm.
Can you tell people a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, the soul connection sessions are a great way to kind of step into exploring higher consciousness, connecting deeper with your soul energy, and seeing things from a different perspective as you navigate your daily life. And you can do that by going to SheilaApplegate.com. And because you are a Soulivity Today listener, use the code SOUL23 and you'll get $44 off your session.
Woohoo! I love it. 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 Um, you know, I think this is what I think a lot of people need right now. Um, it's why we're kind of talking about this today, where we do these shows to bring you information and factual information about what's the realities of what's happening out in the world, and that maybe some things that are behind it, but also to support you in staying grounded in who you are so you can see through a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, see the real reality behind it. And so you can make some decisions about what you want to do about whatever those issues are, regardless of whether they affect you or not. I mean, history is history. I mean, what's the old saying? You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been.
Mhm.
I think too that this has a lot to do with honoring our ancestors, regardless of the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? I mean, these people lived a life, and a lot of it was challenging. Some of it was blessed. Some of it was glorious. Some of it was awful. But that we just accept all of it as it is, learn the lessons that come from it, honor those that came before us, and move on, right? And so thank you both for being here and um, sharing your thoughts about this, because this is an important topic that we'll probably revisit at some point again, because people are really, 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 really going after history all over again, and trying to rewrite it and even erase it, in my opinion. So thanks for being here.
Very important. Yeah.
For both of you.
Yeah.
Really quickly,
you.
just want to remind people to follow us on social media, where you can learn more about what we're doing in the world, including this show. Also go to our Soulivity.com site, where you can learn more about what's happening, including what's happening with this show as well, Soulivity Today, where you can download our podcasts from our shows and listen to them, or you can watch the latest shows that we broadcasted as well. Listen, everybody, thank you for being here, of course. This is how we do it every single Monday through Friday here on Soulivity Today. We hope that you come back and join us for our next show, which is every weekday again at 8 a.m. Eastern for all of you here on the East Coast. It's on all of our social media platforms and on soulivity.com. Or you can catch us at 8 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. So everybody out on the West Coast, you can see these episodes as well, and listen to them while you're driving or at your office or whatever. Now, don't forget to download their app too, because you can actually take it with you wherever you go. Listen, on behalf of everyone here, keep having these kind of conversations with passion and purpose, because when you do, they'll lead you to creating a high quality life, your best life today. So with that, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights